I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV for the week of February 15th, 2012. And I'll start things off this week with Amazing Spider-Man, whatever number this is, 679.1. Point 1 is meaningless, as with most of the Marvel books these days. But don't let that keep you away from this book, because it is very, very good, as Dan Slott's entire run has been. I'm really glad that Slott has stayed on the book for as long as he has. He hasn't overstayed his welcome, and hopefully he leaves before he does. But it's just really solid. We're actually getting a chance to meet some of Peter's coworkers, as we have in the last few issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and we get to hang out with Uatu Jackson. This kid is awesome. And we also find out, actually everyone finds out who the mysterious occupant of Laboratory 6 is at Horizon Labs. And, another really solid issue by Dan Slott, and we've got just fun stuff. Spider-Man hasn't been this good in a long, long time.
Next up, we've got Road Rage, number 1. This is a new mini by Stephen King and Joe Hill. It's actually adapting a short story called Full Throttle they did. Throttle? Throttle. But Joe Hill is the guy that's been knocking it out of the park on Lock and Key, and Stephen King apparently writes books or something.
And they're father and son, just in case you don't know.
And this is a story about a group of bikers that gets into adventures and horrible, horrible things and badness, as happens in most Stephen King books. And it's pretty good. It's very hard to get the feel of, the kind of visceral feel of action and crashes and races in a comic book, and they did a wonderful job of it. It's very... There's no gory stone unturned in this series. So if you like biker stuff, if you like the work of Stephen King or Joe Hill, you should pick this up. This is, fair warning, a mature reader's title. It is not acceptable for everyone. But if you like something a little more bloody and terrifying, that's your pick.
Daredevil continues on my list of awesome. This is Daredevil number 9, and I hope and pray that those of you that picked up Daredevil number 8 as the second part of the crossover with Amazing Spider-Man will continue on with Daredevil and give it a shot. Our numbers did go up from Daredevil 7 to Daredevil 8, and there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't continue reading Daredevil. It is arguably Marvel's best comic book right now. And the artwork by Paulo Rivera is stellar. We get to see Daredevil in a unique environment in this issue, underground. He's goes toe-to-toe with the Mole Man and his Moloids. So to have a blind character in the dark where it's dank, and the Moloids and Mole Man are essentially blind as well. They've got sight issues because they're living in the darkness so much. But it was cool to see Mark Waid put Daredevil in this type of environment. I'm looking forward to the next issue.
Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi number 1. This is the first real issue of the series that's set 36,000 years before A New Hope. 36,000 years. And it's actually very, very good. It was much better than I expected. In the Star Wars universe, you have kind of different sections that are covered by a lot of stuff. Most of the stuff that happens after the movies is thoroughly fleshed out in novels. Stuff from about 3,000 years back is primarily the purview of comic books and video games. And this is right in the feel of that. If you played Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic for the original Xbox, which is maybe the greatest game ever made, Star Wars or otherwise, or if you played the new Old Republic game, or if you've read the old Dark Horse comics set in that same time area, the Knights of the Old Republic era, this is great. It ties into a lot of plot threads from that, and you see races coming to power. You get to see Tatooine before it was a desert. It's doing a great job of setting up the Star Wars universe that we already know, but we get to see how it kind of evolves into the universe we already know. So great read, easy pick if you're a Star Wars fan.
Avenging Spider-Man number 4 is upon us, written by Zeb Wells, who's written the previous 3 issues, and this time we've got artwork by Greg Land, and Hawkeye shows up for this issue. Why? Because Hawkeye's in the Avengers, and they want everyone to know that. Hawkeye's in every book that Marvel publishes now. Not really. And he's wearing a funky costume. Give him back the pointy mask and the big H on his head. I mean, Captain America has a big A on his head. Why can't Hawkeye have a big H on his head? He doesn't. And does he have a secret identity? He's got no mask. I don't understand. Clint Barton, what do you do besides shoot arrows?
Well, he was dead one time, so maybe nobody knows he came back yet.
I mean, I love Hawkeye, but really, when you stop and think about it, he's just an adventurer, and that's it. He has no real job. Anyway, Hawkeye shows
Hawkeye's
up
a
this
deadbeat.
issue, and we get to see an interesting dynamic between Spider-Man and Hawkeye. Captain America pairs them together to go out on patrol, and Hawkeye really doesn't do patrol. He just, when there's bad stuff happening, he goes and fights the bad guys and is victorious 9 times out of 10. So Spidey is like, "Well, you've never been out on patrol?" He's like, "No, I just I practice. That's all I do." And so you get to see that Hawkeye is really trying to be the best there is at what he does after his friend Wolverine, and it doesn't let really anything stand in his way. And sometimes that will let him miss the bigger picture of what's going on. And Spider-Man's there to remind him. So this book really captures the feel of Marvel Team Up, which was a fantastic series in the 80s and 70s. Some of you weren't born then, I know, but this is a contemporary Marvel team-up, and it is probably the most fun book that Marvel is doing right now. The first 3 issues with the Red Hulk had action, but had a lot of humor too. This issue has a lot of humor, but a lot of action as well. So if you're looking for a fun Marvel book, Avenging Spider-Man is the one for you.
Next up, we've got a Infestation 2 twofer. We've got the second half, or the final half, of the Transformers storyline that sees the Transformers in the Age of Steam with Nikolai Tesla fighting off horrors from the deep. And also the first issue of Dungeons & Dragons Infestation Dungeons & Dragons Infestation 2.
Number 1.
Number 1. For the first time, for the last time. I know next to nothing about Dungeons & Dragons. I don't follow the books or the comics. I play the game. And this was a great read. It's kind of a fun, fantasy, steampunky detective story. You've got an arrogant, world's greatest detective kind of character who's solving a locked room murder, and it's really, really good. It appealed both to the fans of fiction and kind of detective mystery stories, and it's also got obviously a lot of fantasy elements in it. So if you're a D&D fan, or if you just like cool mysteries, Dungeons & Dragons Infestation is the way to go.
Batman number 6 by the awesome team of Scott, I'm Awesome Snyder, and Greg, I'm Awesome too, Capullo. This continues, or kind of sort of wraps up. I think this is going to be a 6-issue arc when they put it out. I could be wrong though. The Court of Owls, and by no means are we done with the Court of Owls. There's a Batman crossover that's coming up later this year between Batman and Detective and some of the other Bat books that is all about the Court of Owls. So when we last saw Bruce Wayne, issue number 5, we've given you enough time to pick it up, so we will tell you it was really, Batman's lost in this kind of maze, and he can't figure out where to go. He's been drugged. He's been awake for 3 days straight or whatever it is. And so when you're reading number 5, you had to turn it different directions, so you were actually lost in the maze with Batman, which was very cool. So here we are with issue number 6, and there's a lot of cool stuff that happens again. As Snyder has introduced a very compelling villains in the Court of Owls, and also Talon, who is really the single individual that has been haunting Bruce Wayne for the last 5 issues, 6 issues. But there's some points in here where you see the Court of Owls with their funky owl masks and their talons, and I mean, they're freaky. And so he's done a great job. I think Snyder's background in horror with American Vampire and Severed have really served him well with this book, and it's been consistently good. One of the best of the New 52, hands down.
All right, and next up, Red Hood and the Outlaws number 6. I think I've talked about nearly every issue of this book because nearly every issue has been good. Continues following Red Hood and, Jason Todd as the Red Hood, and Coriander, Starfire. Firestar, and his amazing friends. Starfire, and as well as
Iceman.
Roy
Speedy.
Orbison.
Roy Harper.
Red Arrow, Roy Harper. But this issue actually gives us a background. You see where Starfire, and the Red Hood met. And this fills in kind of background. It's interesting. You get a little more reflection on Red Hood's relationship with Dick Grayson and the Batman family in the New 52, and it's great. It's a lot of fun if you like those characters. It's one of my favorite Bat books now, which is saying a lot because all the Bat books rock.
Speaking of Bat books rocking, Nightwing number 6. As consistently good as Batman has been, Nightwing has been equally good. I think a lot of people have overlooked Nightwing. Maybe people just hate Dick Grayson. I don't know, because I know some people purposely didn't buy any Batman books once Dick Grayson became Batman. This was prior to the New 52 launch. And you guys missed out on this awesome Scott Snyder story, The Black Mirror, which is available in hardcover right now. I think we have a copy, or 2. But Nightwing has been so solid, and we haven't seen. And honestly, I didn't read the previous Nightwing series for one reason or another. So maybe some of this area has been gone over before, but this is Dick slash Nightwing with Haley Circus, and we learn a lot about his past, and we're getting to see the character stand on his own, which he hasn't been able to do for a while. He's always been part of a team or a sidekick, and now he's Dick Grayson Nightwing, and he's doing all this stuff on his own. So again, I read these two back to back, and they're very, I don't want to say complimentary because they have nothing to do with each other, but they are very, very strong books. Both books are definitely worth checking out.
Well, they have nothing to do with each other now.
Yeah,
but
they
soon.
will as we go forward with the Court of Owls. Dun dun dun.
And my pick of the week from Image is Peter Panzerfaust #1. This is a reimagining, I guess, or a re-envisioning or reinterpretation of the Peter Pan mythos set in World War II, and it's a lot of fun. It's told from the point of view of Toodles, one of the lost boys. He's telling the story much later as an old man, and it's great fun. Kind of ways they kind of twist the Peter Pan thing. I actually didn't pick up on the whole Peter Pan mythology till like 2/3 of the way through the book. I'm like, why is that guy crowing? Makes sense now. But no, it was a lot of fun, and it's another reason why you should be checking out Image, because they're doing interesting and fun things every week.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week with another batch of outstanding comics. Until then, take care.